Hello, this is Ramajan from the Game of Social Media talking with a wonderful man named Tom Evans, an author and a temporal alchemist. Tom, will you please explain to the rest of us what it is that you do?
Well, I think the word author is probably fairly obvious. So I've written 13 books now in about 10 years. And after about my first and second book, I noticed that I learned to meditate about 13 years ago. And I noticed that as an engineer, I could get into this space where time seemed to take this squidgy, stretchable quality on. And I learned as an engineer how to instigate that in anybody so that you can make time flow at a different speed. And so one of the things about being a temporal alchemist is knowing how to manifest and manipulate more time just when you need it. And so I'll give you a good example. My 13th book I was commissioned to write on the 1st of June this year, and it was delivered by the 30th of June. So what you do when you get into this state is you, which is a lovely flow state to be in, is time takes this lovely ethereal quality on and you get more done with less of it.
Now, it sounds to me that you've kind of broken through that space and time continuum that some of us have strived to do so. Can you explain a little bit more about, what's really going on as far as how you see it?
Well, I wrote a whole book about it called Managing Time Mindfully that went right back to the source of time, when time began in the Big Bang, and then as it rolled forward, the planet started to revolve around stars, and that's when the real clock of time started. And it's only when mankind started to wanting to meet and socialize that we started to invent this time system that we're all beholden by now. So we've created this time system so we can do really neat things, like you're in Hawaii at 9 a.m., I'm over in the UK at 8 p.m., and we can synchronize our time and be on this lovely platform at the right time, which is a really, really useful thing. And it's really useful that all the planes don't land at the airport at the same time. It's nice if they land one after each other. But then when we get into doing our creative tasks and our social media, it's nice if we let time be controlled by us and we let time fit around the task that we have in hand. Let's say like writing a chapter or a few tweets or a Facebook post or doing a podcast. So temporal alchemy in the work that I do is to allow our consciousness to take control of time and not for our consciousness to be controlled by time.
I was up on your website and I also saw that you teach seminars and things like that. What do you teach?
Well, I really teach an awakeness, really. And I was an engineer who was pretty pragmatic and left-brained until my mid-40s. And then and I was pretty haggard and stressed out. And someone said, learn to meditate. And so I persisted, even though I thought it was a waste of time at the time. And as I noticed, as I meditated, I got more creative, more productive. I kind of reverse engineered all of that, really, and how we can use that lovely meditative state to influence and control all the things that we do. So I teach people how to de-stress, to get into the zone, what happens when they get out of the zone to get back in the zone again, and to really step into their flow and to find their life purpose and the job they kind of came into the earth plane to do. That's what I teach.
Sounds good. Now, while I have you here, can you give us your website address so that people can look you up, and maybe your email as well?
Yeah, sure. The best website address for me is www.tomevans.co. That's not .com or .co.uk, it's just .co. And I've got several other websites like thezoneshow.com and livingtimefully.com as we do. Best email address for me, though, is my moniker online, which is the Bookwright. That's like a playwright, but the Bookwright @me.com.
That's great, Tom. I know that in the next several months, we're going to do a series of short interviews. Both you and I feel that our ability as human beings to actually focus our attention for more than a couple of minutes is diminishing greatly, and we don't want to bore anyone. But I have to lay the foundation for our next interview. As I was speaking with you about some of your marketing techniques, you really were talking along the lines of finding your tribe that some of the other marketers have talked about. So maybe you can just give me a quick scenario of how it all started and how you came onto the system that you're working with.
Well, I got involved with a British social media business networking site in about 2004 called eCademy, and it was almost like that was there before things like Facebook, and that's where I learned a lot of these tools. And it's all about find someone first and get to know them first before you try and sell something to them. So engage first, sell second. And you see so many people online, it's that their tweets and their Facebook posts and their LinkedIn posts is all about sell, sell, sell. And my view is that we should get to know each other first, find out whether there's any going to be any commerce between us, or just an interchange of energy, information, and co-creation that can come from it, as we're doing now. Because we found each other through the lovely Catherine Carrington, and it's because Catherine reached out to me through social media saying that I've got a big tribe, you've got a lovely podcast. I think that if you interview me for my podcast, then I can introduce my tribe to you. And that was the interchange. It wasn't about sell, sell, sell. It was about co-creation. And since then, Catherine and I have done a couple of things. She's interviewed me back for my podcast. So my philosophy is get to know people first. And the best way for the people can get to know you is about you sharing your content, whether it's in a book, a blog, a podcast, a YouTube video, a tweet, a Clamour audio post, a Pinterest photograph, an Instagram photograph. I've not quite got into some of the other more esoteric things recently that have just come about. So for me, Facebook and Twitter is enough. I do a little bit of LinkedIn. I used to do Pinterest and Instagram, but I've fallen off those at the moment. And so it's about finding the places where the people you like hang out. It's a bit like in England, we have these pubs. And you go to a pub where the people you like hang out, and that's where you hang out. And if someone says there's a better pub down the road, you give it a go, see if that's any better for you. And if it isn't, you come back again to your old tribe. So we're very much emulating, I think, the old social way of interaction, which people would be getting to know people first and then selling second.
Thank you, Tom, for sharing these comments. I think that this is especially difficult for us of the older generation to understand. We understand meeting at the pub or the bar, as we call it in America, but we don't understand that it's really the same thing with social media, and your explanation was crystal clear. The kids, don't think anything of it. Their social media is their connection, their network, how they interrelate with each other. For us older folks, as I like calling, for us old fogies, it's really hard to bridge that gap. And I hope that in subsequent interviews, we can talk a little bit more about that. Again, this is Tom Evans, author, Temporal Alchemist, www.tomevans.co. Thank you, Tom.
It's a real pleasure. Thank you.